Good evening, everyone, and thank you for gathering today. It's a privilege to speak with you on a topic that is not only relevant but critically important in our world today. We live in an age where the boundaries between the natural and supernatural are often blurred. Whether we acknowledge it or not, we are surrounded by forces, some seen and some unseen, that shape our world, influence our decisions, and impact our lives. But as we seek to understand the realities of life, we must also discern the forces at work behind the scenes, particularly those that can lead us astray. Today we're going to talk about 3 kinds of witchcraft in today's world that we must be aware of, because they are real, they are active, and they are often deceptive. Witchcraft, in its broadest sense, is not confined to ancient rituals or the images we often associate with witches from folklore and storybooks. No, witchcraft is far more insidious and widespread in our world today than most of us realize. It operates through influences and mechanisms that may not always be immediately obvious, but they are nonetheless powerful. These forces can take many forms, and understanding them is critical to ensuring that we walk in wisdom, truth, and purpose. The first form of witchcraft I want to address is the witchcraft of control. This form of witchcraft is all around us, and its primary tool is manipulation. Control is a subtle form of witchcraft that is not always overt, but it is incredibly effective. It is the act of influencing others, not for their benefit, but for the advancement of one's own will. This could manifest in personal relationships, in the workplace, or even within broader social structures. Control often wears the mask of love, care, or authority. You might find yourself in a situation where someone, perhaps even someone close to you, attempts to control your thoughts, actions, or decisions. At first, it seems harmless, even caring. They might say, "I'm just looking out for you," or "I know what's best for you," but in truth, they are attempting to shape your life to fit their desires, not yours. This kind of witchcraft can appear in leadership, where individuals use their position to dominate and manipulate others. They may present themselves as leaders, but in reality, they are using witchcraft to control. They might use fear, guilt, or intimidation to create dependency, and this can slowly strip you of your ability to make decisions for yourself, to think critically, or to operate freely. This kind of witchcraft seeks to control your mind and your emotions, using them as tools to get you to comply with their wishes. Now, we must understand that control is a dangerous thing, because it not only restricts freedom, it also stunts growth. When people are manipulated into doing things against their will or their purpose, they lose sight of who they are and what they are meant to do. The only way to overcome this form of witchcraft is to develop discernment. We must learn to recognize when we are being manipulated and to stand firm in our convictions. A person who cannot think for themselves, who is continually controlled by others, will never experience the fullness of their potential. The second kind of witchcraft we must be aware of is the witchcraft of influence. Influence is the power to sway or alter someone's thinking, beliefs, or behavior, and in today's world, this is one of the most pervasive forms of witchcraft. Influence doesn't need to be direct or forceful, it can be subtle, and it often works through media, culture, and peer pressure. In many ways, influence is the quieter, more insidious form of witchcraft, because it operates behind the scenes, often unseen and unnoticed. Think about the messages we receive every day through advertisements, television, social media, and even the conversations we have with those around us. The world is constantly bombarding us with ideas, values, and beliefs, many of which are contrary to truth and purpose. This constant stream of influence shapes our worldviews, often without us even realizing it. For instance, the influence of consumerism. Consumerism teaches us that our value is tied to what we own and how much we possess. The influence of social media shapes our understanding of beauty, success, and happiness, often distorting reality and causing us to chase after empty promises. The witchcraft of influence works in the realm of ideas and thoughts. It operates through persuasive rhetoric and can manipulate us into believing things that are not true or that are destructive to our well-being. This is why we must be vigilant in guarding our minds. We must develop the ability to filter out the noise, to discern what is true from what is false, and to make choices that align with our true values and purpose. We must not allow ourselves to be swayed by every new trend, every new idea, or every new influencer that comes our way. The power of influence is a force that can either build us up or tear us down, and the key to overcoming it is a deep commitment to truth and authenticity. The third form of witchcraft I want to address today is the witchcraft of deception. Deception is perhaps the most dangerous form of witchcraft because it operates in the shadows, hiding its true nature. Deception works to create a false reality, to present things as they are not. It distorts truth, makes wrong seem right, and turns light into darkness. In a world where misinformation and half-truths are rampant, deception is a force that can lead even the most well-intentioned people astray. Deception can take many forms. It could be the lie that we tell ourselves, convincing ourselves that something is okay when we know deep down it's not. It could be the half-truths presented by the media, which distort the facts and lead us to believe a narrative that is not accurate. It could even be the lies we hear from others, whether in our personal lives or in the public sphere, that shape our thinking and our actions in ways that are harmful. Deception thrives when we are unaware, when we are not paying attention, or when we are unwilling to confront the truth. It leads us into darkness, away from our true purpose, and often causes us to make decisions that have long-lasting negative consequences. The antidote to deception is truth. We must seek truth with all our hearts, and we must be willing to question what we hear, what we see, and what we believe. The truth is the light that exposes deception for what it is and allows us to walk in freedom. In today's world, these three forms of witchcraft, control, influence, and deception are not just ancient or distant forces. They are alive and active. They are present in our relationships, our media, our workplaces, and even in our own hearts. But I want to remind you that no matter how pervasive or powerful these forces may seem, they are not greater than the power of truth, of wisdom, and of discernment. We are not victims of these forces. We are more than conquerors. The key is to develop awareness, to build our minds and spirits on truth, and to walk in wisdom. When we recognize the tactics of control, influence, and deception, we can counter them with discernment, with knowledge, and with the light of truth. We must be people who stand firm, who are not easily swayed, and who refuse to be manipulated or deceived. The world will continue to try to shape us, but we must remember that we are not of this world. We are called to live by a higher standard, to be examples of truth, integrity, and wisdom. And as we walk in this path, we will not only protect ourselves from these forms of witchcraft, but we will also become a light to others, helping them navigate the darkness and find their own path to truth. May we walk with eyes wide open, with hearts full of wisdom, and with a commitment to living in truth. As we continue this journey of awareness, it is essential to understand that the battle against these forms of witchcraft is not just external, it's internal as well. In fact, the most powerful battles are often fought within our own hearts and minds. This is where the real challenge lies, in being able to discern and resist the forces that seek to manipulate us from within. The greatest weapon we have against the forces of control, influence, and deception is our own inner strength, rooted in truth, integrity, and purpose. Many of us, perhaps without even realizing it, have unknowingly submitted to these forces. We've allowed them to subtly shape our thoughts, our attitudes, and our actions. We've believed the lies. We've been influenced by the media. and we've been controlled by the expectations of others. But now is the time to recognize these influences and break free. We cannot afford to live in ignorance any longer. It is time to become proactive in safeguarding our minds and our spirits. We must protect our peace, our purpose, and our potential from being derailed by the forces of darkness, disguised in the form of control, influence, and deception. One of the most powerful tools we have in overcoming these forms of witchcraft is the ability to anchor ourselves in truth. When we are rooted in truth, we are not easily swayed by the winds of manipulation or deception. Truth grounds us. It is the foundation upon which we build our lives. Without truth, we are like a ship without an anchor, drifting aimlessly, tossed around by every wind and wave of falsehood. But with truth, we stand firm, unwavering, and immovable. Truth is not just a concept, it is a person. Truth is not relative or subjective. Truth is absolute, and it is found in the higher principles of wisdom that guide our lives. The truth that stands the test of time is the truth that transcends the trends of the world, the pressures of society, and the lies of the enemy. It is the truth that reveals who we are, why we are here, and where we are going. When we align ourselves with this truth, we break free from the snares of witchcraft in all its forms. I want to encourage you, as you leave this place today, to take a moment to reflect on your own life. Ask yourself what voices are influencing me. What forces are controlling my decisions? Am I being deceived by something I have yet to recognize? The answer to these questions lies within you, but you must be willing to seek the truth, no matter how uncomfortable or inconvenient it may be. In moments of doubt, in times of uncertainty, remember that you are not alone. You have been given the wisdom and the strength to discern the truth. You have the power to break free from the forces that seek to control you, influence you, and deceive you. You are not powerless in this world. You have been given dominion, authority, and purpose. You were created with a higher calling, and it is time to rise up and walk in that calling. As we move forward, let us remember that the battle is not just against external forces. It is a battle for the mind, the heart, and the soul. It is a battle for the very essence of who we are. But rest assured, we are equipped to win. We are more than capable of overcoming any force that seeks to undermine our purpose and derail our destiny. Let us be vigilant in guarding our minds, steadfast in our pursuit of truth, and unwavering in our commitment to walk in wisdom. The world may try to pull us in many directions, but we must always remember the path that leads to freedom, the path of truth, integrity, and purpose. In this world, witchcraft may appear in many forms, but none of them are stronger than the truth we carry within us. We must take up our responsibility to be people of discernment, people of wisdom, people who live by principles that elevate us above the forces of control, influence, and deception. When we do this, we will not only protect ourselves, but we will also help others find their way out of the confusion and darkness that surrounds them. It is time to stand, to rise, and to walk boldly in the truth that has been entrusted to us. You are not a victim. You are a victor. You have the power to overcome, and with every step you take in truth, you draw closer to your divine purpose. As we continue to journey through this understanding of the forces that shape our world, it's essential to recognize that every person is called to play a role in the fight against these subtle and often unnoticed forms of witchcraft. We are not mere spectators in the drama of life. Each of us is a participant in a larger story, one that is being written every day through our decisions, our words, and our actions. Every choice we make either strengthens or weakens us in our battle for truth. And when we fail to recognize the forces of control, influence, and deception, we become vulnerable. Let me tell you this, in a world that is often so consumed with external pressures and external forces, it is easy to forget the power we have within ourselves. Many of us get caught up in the external realities, the expectations of society, the opinions of others, the standards that are set for us, and we lose sight of the internal strength and wisdom that we possess. But today I want to remind you that the power is inside you. You have the ability to see through the smoke and mirrors of deception. You have the authority to resist the manipulative forces of control. You have the discernment to recognize when you are being influenced in unhealthy ways. In order to tap into this power, we must understand that self-awareness is a critical element in the fight against these forces. We need to take stock of our lives, reflect on the ways we have been influenced, and discern the areas where control or deception might be at work. When we lack self-awareness, we become vulnerable to manipulation. We become like clay in the hands of others, unable to shape our own destiny. Think about it for a moment. How many times have you found yourself doing something or thinking something that you later regretted or realized wasn't aligned with your values? Perhaps you were influenced by the opinions of others, swayed by a popular belief, or manipulated by a situation or person that didn't have your best interest at heart. These moments are not coincidental. They are evidence of the power of influence, control, and deception at work in our lives. But the good news is, we don't have to stay in that place. Once we become aware, we become empowered. Awareness opens the door to action. When we recognize the tactics of control, influence, and deception, we can take steps to protect ourselves and redirect our path. This begins with personal responsibility. We must take ownership of our thoughts, our actions, and our responses. We cannot afford to blame others for the choices we make. We must take control of our lives, ensuring that every decision we make is intentional, thoughtful, and aligned with our higher purpose. But personal responsibility is not just about avoiding negative influences. It is also about filling our minds and hearts with truth. We cannot stand strong against the forces of witchcraft if we are empty or ignorant of what is true and good. It is essential that we immerse ourselves in principles of wisdom, knowledge, and integrity. Whether it's through spiritual teachings, education, personal growth, or mentorship, we must constantly seek to expand our understanding of who we are, why we are here, and how we can fulfill our purpose. The more we cultivate truth in our lives, the less susceptible we become to the forces of manipulation. The more we build our lives on the foundation of wisdom, the less likely we are to be deceived by half-truths or false promises. You see, the key to breaking free from witchcraft in all its forms lies not in fighting external battles, but in strengthening the internal foundation of who we are. Now, let's talk about one more crucial aspect of this conversation, the power of community. It's easy to think of this journey as an individual endeavor, but in truth, we are all in this together. The battle against control, influence, and deception is not just a personal fight, it is a collective one. We must support each other, build each other up, and help each other stay on the path of truth. In our communities, we must form networks of support, encouragement, and accountability. These networks serve as a shield against the forces that seek to break us down. When we walk in community, we strengthen each other's resolve. We help one another discern truth from falsehood, and we provide a safe place to question, grow, and heal. As we stand together in unity, we become stronger than the forces that seek to divide and conquer us. But here's the thing, we must choose our communities wisely. Not every person or group will encourage our growth. Not every influence in our lives will bring us closer to truth. That is why it is vital to be intentional about the relationships we cultivate. Surround yourself with people who will challenge you to think critically, who will encourage you to be the best version of yourself, and who will always point you toward what is true, pure, and right. These are the kinds of relationships that will fortify you against the pressures of control, influence, and deception. As we conclude today, I want to leave you with this thought: you are not powerless. The forces of witchcraft, whether in the form of control, influence, or deception, are real, but they do not have to control you. You have been given everything you need to stand firm against these forces and to walk in the truth of who you are. You have the power to discern, to resist, and to overcome. But that power is only realized when you take ownership of your life, when you choose truth over deception, when you choose wisdom over manipulation, and when you choose integrity over control. You must commit to being a person of discernment, to walking in truth, and to fostering relationships that strengthen you in your purpose. The world may be filled with forces that seek to lead you astray, but you are not meant to be swept away. You were created with purpose, with power, and with the authority to shape your destiny. It's time to step into that power, to rise above the forces that seek to keep you down, and to walk in the freedom that truth provides. Stand tall, be vigilant, and always remember the truth will set you free. Thank you.